Narration. The first thing most people noticed about Gabby Petito was how easy her smile looked. It was the kind of smile that made strangers online feel like they already knew her, like she was the friend who would stop a road trip just to photograph flowers growing beside an empty highway. Her Instagram slowly filled with warm desert sunsets, tiny coffee shops, mountain trails, and cozy van life moments that made millions of people dream about escaping normal life forever. To the internet, Gabby and Brian did not look like ordinary travelers anymore. They looked like freedom itself rolling across America inside a tiny white van. Before the road trip ever became a nationwide true crime obsession, the young couple looked like thousands of other adventurous young people trying to build a life online through travel content and carefully edited memories. Friends described the blonde woman as emotional, creative, optimistic, and deeply passionate about documenting beautiful moments wherever she went. The bald young man often appeared quieter and more withdrawn, almost like somebody who preferred silence, forests, and isolation more than busy crowds or constant social attention. Together they created the image of a peaceful young couple chasing freedom across America, and millions of strangers online completely believed in that dream. The van itself was tiny, cramped, and honestly uncomfortable for two people traveling nonstop together for weeks. But social media transformed that little white vehicle into a fantasy machine that represented escape from rent, stress, jobs, and ordinary routines. The blonde woman decorated the inside with fairy lights, blankets, tiny shelves, hanging plants, and carefully arranged decorations that made everything feel magical online. Millions of people watching from apartments in crowded cities started imagining themselves living that same dream on endless highways under open skies. At first, the road trip looked almost perfect from the outside. Bright desert skies stretched endlessly over winding highways while national parks, mountains, rivers, forests, and tiny roadside diners became part of their online adventure story. The blonde woman filmed sunsets glowing across Red Canyon walls, while soft music played behind carefully edited travel clips uploaded for followers online. Every new photograph made the journey feel magical, peaceful, and endlessly romantic to the people watching from behind phone screens. But social media only showed carefully selected moments instead of the exhausting reality happening between those beautiful photographs. Endless driving, financial pressure, heat, exhaustion, emotional tension, and constant closeness slowly started affecting both of them more than viewers online could ever fully understand. Tiny disagreements inside the cramped moving van slowly became larger because there was nowhere to emotionally escape from each other for very long. The beautiful landscapes surrounding them still looked magical online, but privately the relationship itself was becoming increasingly unstable with every passing mile. As the road trip continued through places like Utah and Wyoming, subtle warning signs slowly began appearing in their photos and videos. Certain smiles started looking forced, awkward silences lasted slightly too long, and some captions suddenly felt strange once people looked back later after the tragedy. Nobody watching at the time realized they were seeing tiny cracks forming inside a relationship that was emotionally collapsing beneath the surface. The internet still saw adventure, romance, and freedom, while the reality behind the camera was becoming darker with every passing mile. Everything changed on a hot August evening near a desert national park when police officers stopped the couple after witnesses reported an emotional roadside argument. The bodycam footage from that traffic stop would later become some of the most analyzed true crime footage on the internet because millions of people replayed every second searching for hidden warning signs. The blonde woman appeared overwhelmed, anxious, emotional, and exhausted while the bald young man stayed noticeably calmer and more controlled during conversations with officers. At the time it looked like stressed young travelers dealing with relationship problems, but later the footage became terrifying to viewers once the disappearance case exploded nationwide. After the police encounter, the road trip continued, but the emotional atmosphere between them seemed increasingly heavy and uncomfortable beneath the surface. The blonde woman continued posting cheerful photographs online, while followers remained completely unaware that the relationship behind the camera might already be falling apart emotionally. The bald young man often appeared emotionally distant and withdrawn in videos, creating an unsettling contrast against the bright, adventurous energy surrounding the trip online. Somewhere across those endless highways, isolated campsites, and silent wilderness areas, the story slowly began moving toward tragedy. Then suddenly the cheerful rhythm of the blonde woman's social media activity started feeling different in ways followers could not fully explain at first. Some captions felt unusual, some responses stopped coming, and the constant flow of updates suddenly became strangely quiet. In the social media age, silence can feel louder than screaming, especially when somebody's entire online identity revolves around documenting everyday adventures. Thousands of followers slowly started feeling that something was wrong even before missing person reports exploded nationwide. The story exploded nationwide when the bald young man suddenly returned to his family home, alone driving the same white camper van from the road trip. The blonde woman was nowhere to be seen, and people online immediately started asking the same horrifying question over and over again. Where was the smiling traveler whose adventures millions of people had been following online for weeks? That single mystery transformed the case from a concerning disappearance into a nationwide obsession almost overnight. The internet instantly transformed into a giant digital investigation filled with theories, maps, screenshots, timelines, and non-stop speculation. Video creators uploaded detailed breakdowns reaching millions of views, while online communities searched through every photograph, live stream, and travel clip they could possibly find. People analyzed gas station stops, restaurant sightings, wilderness routes, and even tiny reflections hidden inside old videos looking for clues. It felt less like a normal investigation, and more like the entire internet had become emotionally obsessed with solving the mystery themselves. One of the biggest breakthroughs came when travel vloggers unknowingly recorded footage of the white camper van parked near a remote wilderness camping area surrounded by forests and mountains. Internet users quickly identified the exact location, causing investigators to focus heavily on the isolated landscape surrounding the campsite. During daylight, the area looked breathtakingly beautiful with rivers, forests, mountains, and endless open skies stretching toward the horizon. But at night, the same wilderness suddenly felt lonely, silent, and terrifyingly dangerous beneath the darkness. As investigators searched the wilderness for answers, another shocking twist suddenly changed the story again. The bald young man himself disappeared before investigators could fully question him publicly about the missing traveler. Now the country had two mysteries unfolding at the same time: a missing young woman and the missing man many people already suspected. News helicopters, online detectives, reporters, and angry protesters all became part of the growing media storm surrounding the case. Eventually, investigators discovered the blonde traveler's remains near the remote wilderness camping area, confirming the nightmare everybody feared had become reality. The cheerful road trip fantasy that millions followed online instantly collapsed into heartbreak, grief, and horror. The same mountains, forests, highways, and sunsets that once symbolized freedom now felt emotionally heavy and deeply haunting to people following the case online. For many viewers, it felt like watching the ending of a horror story that nobody wanted to believe was real. The nationwide manhunt for the missing bald young man became another massive chapter in the story as authorities searched huge swampy wilderness areas under brutal heat and heavy rain. Thick mud, insects, snakes, helicopters, and endless wetlands made the search feel surreal on non-stop television broadcasts. Online theories exploded even further, as some people believed he was hiding while others thought he was already dead somewhere deep inside the wilderness. Every update dominated headlines within minutes because the entire country had become emotionally invested in the case. Weeks later, investigators finally discovered the missing man's remains in the wilderness after water levels in the area dropped significantly. Writings later connected to him added another disturbing layer to an already tragic story filled with emotional tension and unanswered questions. There would never be a courtroom trial, no public cross-examination, and no complete emotional closure for millions of people who followed the case online every single day. Instead, the story ended with grief, haunting silence, and the disturbing feeling that the internet had watched a tragedy slowly unfold in real time. What makes this story so terrifying is how modern it feels compared to older true crime cases from the past. This tragedy unfolded through smartphones, online theories, social media captions, police bodycam footage, travel videos, digital timelines, and non-stop internet discussion happening in real time across millions of screens. Countless strangers watched the relationship slowly unravel online without realizing how dangerous the situation behind the scenes may have already become. That is why the story still haunts people years later, because it feels less like an old crime case and more like a digital ghost trapped forever inside the internet generation. What makes this story so terrifying is how modern it feels compared to older true crime cases from the past. This tragedy unfolded through smartphones, online theories, social media captions, police bodycam footage, travel videos, digital timelines, and non-stop internet discussion happening in real time across millions of screens. Countless strangers watched the relationship slowly unravel online without realizing how dangerous the situation behind the scenes may have already become. That is why the story still haunts people years later, because it feels less like an old crime case and more like a digital ghost trapped forever inside the internet generation.